So hello guys, hi everyone. Hi everyone. So today we are going to be learning about a new concept, a new chapter called as vectors. Basically, an introduction to class 11. I think we have already learnt about motion, which I have been able to be explaining about. So in motions, I have already explained to you everything. The first three parts. Please, if you haven't seen my videos, try to see in this EduBytes channel. It's a very useful one. It's going to be same like this in this vector chapter. Basically it's going to be consisting of five parts. So everything is going to be very less than 10 minutes. This is something very useful. Every 10 minutes it is actually a new division in our channel known as less than 10 minutes. That is very creative. We wanted to be creative, so about that. Okay, so today we are going to be learning about vectors. Part 1. Part 1. So here, if you want to see about vectors, as I have already taught you about motion, in motion we will have actually seen about displacement, you know, displacement, velocity, and sort of like that, all of these things. So basically it's all about this displacement, velocity, and even force. These are all of these guys are usually coming with directions. Direction. Without direction, they are useless. So here, as I already mentioned in the motions chapter, they are all vectors. Vectors are basically magnitude and direction. Very important concept. This is what is vectors. So maybe a car. Suppose there is a block, a huge heavy block. A boy is pushing with the force here, F, and a girl is also pushing with the force, and so the body moves with this entire force. The body is actually moving in this side. Well, there is friction force, but just avoid. There is a force here. Okay, but what if the same scenario happens? Suppose the same block. So there is a same block. A boy is pushing with the force F, but a girl is pushing with the force F in this direction. Then the body may not move or move in some direction that they both want or they both wish. So here direction plays an important role. Direction plays an important role. So basically for direction we just represent them with vectors. So vectors are usually, so same thing I want to mention is again, vectors are just arrows. So we just use for adding, subtracting. Vectors is used in everywhere. So if you actually understand vectors, the whole 11th standard is very easy. Vectors is just usage of arrows. Something is very important to understand. So suppose um, you know we have a vector. I'm sorry. Suppose we have a vector like this. Vectors, as I already told you, is just arrows. So here, the starting point is A, ending point is B. So this vector is basically A, B vector. The starting initial to the final, we actually write with letters, and so we use an arrow. This is basically how we represent vectors, A, B vectors. Or for simplification, for many calculation, we just call this as vector A vector. A simple concept, no? Any variable you can use and just say A vector is basically A B vector. Same thing. Very useful concept. That's how you represent vectors. There are a lot of amount of vectors which we can say. So let's first go to equal vectors. Equal vectors are just, suppose a vector is like this, A vector, and there is also you know another vector starting like this. So here this is A vector, this is B vector. These two vectors, let's try to match them and see if they are right. Yes, they are equal. They are equal. So these are equal vectors. So basically equal vectors are vectors in which they have the same direction. They have the same direction The direction, basically this is b cap. B cap is basically the direction used, and this is the what is this direction? A cap direction. So simply this is what is called as a unit vector, so in which direction and magnitude should be same. If both of them are same between two vectors, these are called as the equal vectors. Very important concept. Understand what is an equal vector, very useful for us. Okay. Now we understood about equal vectors. What about negative of a vector? Negative of a vector is basically a vector if there is a vector which is called as a vector, and there is also another vector, same magnitude but in this direction, the negative direction. So we call this vector as the negative vector. Negative vector, basically this could be b vector, this could be a vector. So b vector has the same magnitude, has the same magnitude, they have the same magnitude, but like literally opposite. So but with opposite direction. This is negative vector. Negative of a vector. A vector is b vector is negative of the a vector. Very important, very useful concept. Please note down. There is also multiples of vector. If this suppose is a vector and there is actually b vector like this, this big, which can be equal to 3a vectors. So this is basically multiple. So there is also multiple of a vector. Very useful, right? This is very very useful. Understand the whole of this. Very useful concept. Um, right. So there is also another useful concept which I'm going to teach. Suppose there is a north south direction. We can use news. We usually call this as news. 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 North south east west flowing all directions. And suppose there is a vector starting from the origin, like a position vector. Position vector I will be able to teach in later on stages. This is a position vector having a degree 30 degrees north of east. So what do we call this? What type of vector do we call this? This, in what direction is this? Is it northeast? Yes, it is northeast, but to be exact, it is 30 degrees north of east. So there could be another vector like this. This can be 15 degrees. So this is, try to answer, this is basically 15-degree west of south, from south to west. So 15 degrees west of south. So very simple and easy concept. Please try to understand. This is something no one would teach, but I'm trying to teach. So vectors, some very important and useful concept, very tough actually, but if you actually understood, it will be very easy. And with north south direction, it's very very easy. So try to understand a lot of these concepts. So this could be, if this is 30 degrees, this could be 60. So we can also say that this vector is 60 degrees east of north or 30 degrees north of east. In two ways we can represent vectors, in two ways. Very useful concept, right? Okay. So this all is learnt about something very important. There is also something which is called as vector addition, which I will be teaching the vectors part 2 lesson. So please try to learn and make use of it. Very important.